Hi friends, I hope you are doing fantastic. I am here in beautiful Parma, Michigan. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping. It is the nicest weather we have had in ages. It hit 80 degrees yesterday for the first time since October, and the weather has been groggy and gross and So my kids with this nice weather are starting to struggle a little bit reading outside of class. So we're going to talk today about some of the things that I do to help make sure that we continue reading even when the sun is shining. Are you ready? Let's go. I feel like my students do a really nice job of reading outside of class. They read a lot, they read on their own, some of them get some help with their parents, but for the most part, my kids, I feel, want to read outside of school. Spring is always the hardest time because Michigan, we don't have a lot of sunny days in the winter. And once a lot of the sports that the kids play are just on the weekend, so they aren't quite as busy during the week as they are now. Now with soccer starting and baseball starting, a lot of my students are really, really busy and they want to play outside. And I want them to play outside. So I'm going to just share a few of the things that I'm doing to help make sure that my kids are still reading outside of class. I do not do reading logs. My kids are not forced to fill anything out. Parents aren't supposed to sign things. I know my kids are reading and my kids who aren't reading because I ask them and they're pretty honest with me. They'll let me know if they're not reading. So I think the most important thing to do to make sure that my kids are reading outside of class, especially in the spring, is to make sure that they have great books to read. If a kid is reading a book that they are madly in love with, that they are really excited about, that they can't put down, they're going to take that book home and find time to read it. If they can't find a good book or they're slogging through or they're abandoning lots of books, they're not going to read at home. I'm the same way. If I'm reading a book that I love, I find extra time to read outside of school. And if I'm struggling or I'm between books and having a hard time getting into it, I notice that I'm not reading as much. So helping kids find that just right book, that book that they're going to love, is a great way to keep them reading even when the sun is shining. One thing that I'm doing this year with my kids is I'm actually sending home a kind of like a reflection sheet for them to fill out with their families or whoever they're live with at home. And if they can't find someone to do it with at home, I'll do it with them here in class. And it's just a pretty simple reflection sheet. They're just kind of talking about how is reading going at home? When are you most successful? Where are you getting your books to read at home? When you're not successful, what's getting in the way? Just asking them some questions to help them think about how reading is going. And if it's not going well, let's develop a plan to make sure that reading gets better at home. Another thing that I do to make sure my kids are reading is make sure every time they leave my class, they have a book to read that night. Sometimes that book gets left in the locker. Sometimes that book gets left in one of their other classrooms. But I make sure that when they walk out the door, they have a book to read. Because if they don't have a book to read, they're not going to read. Yeah, some of them say, oh, I have a bunch of books at home. I don't think that works as well as reading the book that you are in love with, that you're reading in class, that you're reading on the bus. Like having that one book that you're into and you're making progress through is going to help you read outside of school because you're going to want to know what happens next and you're going to be really into the story. I would love to know what you're doing to help your students read outside of class. Please leave me a comment below. Let me know, what are you doing? What tricks or tips or just what ways are you using to get kids excited, to get kids wanting to read outside of class? We know how important reading outside of class is into developing a love for reading and to help kids grow as readers. So let me know, what are you doing to help your students grow as readers and make them want to read and read and read and read at home? Thank you so much for tuning in. Have an awesome-tastic day and happy reading.